I'm going to give the stage to Mr. Kanti Pai, the moderator for this conversation. He is a senior economist at PwC and will be engaging the ministers that we have in the room today. I ask that those who are joining us now, please do take your seats and let us do settle down to engage in the next segment. Over to you, Kanti.
Your Excellencies, leaders, colleagues, good morning. May I first just call up and introduce the members of our ministerial panel so who can come and be able to join me today. I'm going to start with the Honorable Gwede Mantashe, who is the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy in the Republic of South Africa. Yes, to come and sit next to me, you'll be right on that chair. Up. I got it. Will you switch him on? To follow next to Minister Mantashe, I would like to invite Honorable Cornelia Shilunga, who is Deputy Minister of Mining in Namibia. Following right next to her will be Mr. Leon Godza, who is Director of Energy Minerals in Zimbabwe. And then the Ministry of Mines in the Republic of Congo will be His Excellency Godard Bolum. The Deputy Minister is assisted by Professor Tambwe, who is Deputy Coordinator on the technical branch of the mines in the DRC. Good morning.
The representation. Where's the motion?
Good morning to all our observers. It's really wonderful to be here for such an important topic. Now, the name of the panel has already been discussed. What I'm going to do in this discussion is really to focus as much as possible on the key words, as if actually we are doing an exam, so that we actually cover all of this. And starting with you, Minister Mantashe, we've already talked about critical minerals, and that seems to be very clear and well defined. And I get really excited when I hear the word strategy, because I work in a strategy business. What do we actually mean when we say these are strategic minerals, especially at this time of, in our economy, in the outlook? When we say these are strategic minerals, and we should be thinking about these as strategic critical minerals, what is that word about?
Is it the word strategy?
Yeah.
Talks about the ultimate objective. Okay. That's what strategy means. So if it is strategic, it means it should be ultimate. And that's why we opted for the critical instead of strategy. Because if we say strategic, it means nothing until the end of what we want to do. Critical is using a lot of tactics to get to the strategic objective. So critical minerals, I love them because that's what we have. Strategies are country by country. Critical is the nature of the mineral, and therefore we must emphasize the critical nature of each mineral. That's why we gave you a list of those minerals and said, look at them, they're all critical. They are not the ultimate end. You can use a variety of them. For example, many people talk of critical minerals and link them to green economy. And my own view is that to reach to the ultimate green energy, you must use multiple pathways. You can't have a single way to green economy. It must be multiple pathways and a variety of technologies that you use. And critical minerals fit into those various pathways and the various technologies that you use to reach there.
Great. And they are also critical, and I think something that we focused on has been a lot on energy.
Yes.
But perhaps we could say a little bit about what else is possible when we think about these critical minerals rather than just to focus on energy, because that seems to be a very big part of our discussion.
Critical minerals have been defined in terms of energy, in terms of security, in terms of technologies, various, they're used for multi-purpose in society. They actually dynamize society, and that is the importance of them. But unfortunately, we export them raw, they get dynamized somewhere else, and we buy them at a huge added cost. And that is the issue that we must discuss here as Africans, and come together, have a common vision on how best can we deal with these issues.
Fantastic. I'm going to come back to another word that maybe you just said about, that also is in this heading about wealth, and how we actually use this to create wealth, and in what ways, pathways, as we actually go forward. Because I'm a bit concerned about this idea of wealth, because we've also been talking very much, since we started, about mineral deposits, and if whether or not there's a difference in terms of the wealth of our mineral deposits and when we've actually extracted it. Perhaps you can wade into that.
Minerals are said to be potential until exploited. Okay. If you are not exploiting them, it's a potential. When you exploit them, then you are starting a process of creating wealth. And creating wealth, I always make this point as a former trade unionist, that it is a worker who converts an investment of anybody into wealth. Because it is that worker who goes there, extract the mineral out of the soil. It is the worker who processes it, separate the mineral from rock, and it is the worker who add value to the well. So you take what was potential, it goes through the value chain, and as it goes through the value chain, you are in a process of creating wealth. And wealth has a potential of enriching either a few or many. So the debate that we're having in Africa is that it must actually benefit as many people as possible rather than individual shareholders. It must talk to communities. That's why in our policy we have something called a social labor places. It works very well. And it works better when companies invest in impactful projects than individual small projects, because small projects make no impact. Impactful projects impact on the life of a society. When a company goes and builds a school, that impacts on society. When a company builds a clinic, it impacts on school. But it goes and builds a small community hall. That hall doesn't benefit much. People meet there once in 4 months, and it doesn't add any value to society.
Okay.
So wealth is about value.
Thank you. Thanks for that. We also been talking about the different minerals, and I want to come to you, to jump just a little bit, to come to you, Deputy Minister Gibolum, about this idea, because we're looking at some of the presentations here, and we see that copper is right there at the Boromendu in the DRC, one of the biggest contributors to the supply of copper. But why do you think this has not been a strategic mineral as aligned in your own country?
Merci pour la question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, for the question.
Et effectivement, le cobalt est un minerai dans les substances que nous qualifions de stratégiques.
Yes, as a matter of fact, cobalt is effectively minerals, substance that in DRC we classified as strategic. And this has to be viewed in terms of its criticality.
Il y a le cobalt, le germanium et le coltan qui sont classés comme substances minérales stratégiques chez nous.
Because in DRC, we have to, I mean, the Mining Act and regulation about application of that Mining Act define expressly what is a strategic mineral instead of critical mineral. And His Excellency is going to explain more about this. And according to that classification or definition, we have three substances, three minerals that have been put in that short list. These are cobalt first, the second one is coltan, and the third one is germanium.
Okay. I was actually interested more even in copper, the discussion in copper rather than cobalt.
Oh, sorry, so that's my fault. I think I translated the wrong question.
Le cuivre n'est pas classé parmi les trois minéraux que je viens de vous citer.
So copper is not in that short list of strategic minerals. But
Mais le cuivre mériterait de faire partie de minéraux stratégiques.
But it would deserve to be placed on that list,
Mais sauf pour des raisons de climat d'affaires,
since we have this business doing, which, yeah,
oui, car tout minerai qui est classé parmi les minéraux stratégiques est imposable, donc il y a une redevance minière qu'il faut payer.
because there is a royalty, there is a special royalty which is taxed on strategic minerals, yes, which amount to which amount to 10% of the value whenever that substance is exported, and this obviously would somehow disturb what we are calling doing business, in spite of the fact that royalties is deduced by the time companies are paying the benefits and other tax at the end. So it is deduced. But the problem is for a starting company, a starting enterprise, which is coming in the field of copper in our mining domain. We apply that 10%, and they are not yet at their benefit plateau. Then there might be a problem. That's the reason why we are not putting it in that list. But it is critical, that's for sure.
And I think maybe an easy question that follows from that is that what kind of work needs to be done? What actually stands in the way, and what could we do to develop, the mining sector in particular, but generally, and especially the copper, to actually get to this potential that we are discussing?
Bon, la mine est maîtrisée. Pour le moment, il n'y a pas de problème.
So
Nous sommes plein dedans.
the mining subsector in our mining domain is well mastered as far as extractive mining is concerned.
Nous sommes troisième producteur de cuivre dans le monde.
As a matter of fact, DRC is the third, globally speaking, copper producer. We are at the third rank after Chile and Peru. We are the third, and these are according to the latest ranking of International Copper Study Group.
Oui, donc, comme je disais, c'est un problème maintenant d'industrie. Nous avons notamment, nous avons un problème plutôt de fourniture d'énergie qui n'est pas efficiente.
So, instead, we have problems in what concern for the copper, what concern fabrication, local added value. That's the problem. But as far as mineral extraction, this is well mastered. So there's no problem. The problem is then for fabrication, and His Excellency was insisting on energy. There is a strong need of energy supply because to reach its full potential, DRC, because last year production in copper was 2,380,000 tons. That was last year, of which 80% is cathode. So we have copper cathode, yes, a metal which is for 9%. So the problem is energy and
De voies de communication, du transport.
And-
Souvent, au niveau de l'extraction et au niveau de transformation locale, il y a souvent des distances énormes. Et c'est comme on a un problème de communication, des problèmes de voies de communication, des routes, tout ça, ça pose souvent problème.
so the second challenge, a part of energy, is routes of transporting. Yes, because DRC is a big country. It's a huge one, and most of the time, the place mining extraction is done, where there are the deposits, might be remoted areas. If you consider where treatment or transformation has to be done. And for that, yes, there is a need of investment in those very neurologic infrastructures, such as communication, roads, and transport of energy, electricity there. Yes, that's a problem.
Okay, thanks. I think you might find some sympathy from Minister Mantashe in some of the issues that you've highlighted, especially on energy. But let me maybe come to Honorable Shilunga. First, let me confess, you and I had a conversation yesterday, and particularly around the discussion of cooperation and working together of the different countries. We've just heard now some of the issues in the DRC that exist in South Africa and some of the challenges that we're seeing in the continent. In your estimation, and certainly I want you to share some of the thoughts that you shared with me yesterday around how we actually work towards a more cooperative development of the mining sector, critical mining minerals in particular, and how we actually have to start to think about that.
Thank you very much. And before I get to the question, I would like to thank Honorable Mantashe for this invitation to this very important platform that is very, very critical, though we are also discussing about critical minerals. What I would like to share when it comes to that, I'm thinking about the collaboration and cooperation efforts that we need to have as SADC and as Africa. Of course, charity begins at home we need to look at some of the determining factor of our policies when we develop them and our laws. Laws are determined by various factors such as culture, the belief of the people of that country, and the national interest, and some other factors. But as much as we develop our policies as individual countries, we need to benchmark with fellow member states that are within the region for us to be able to learn, to network, and also to share information that will be able to contribute to us developing better and good policies that are competitive and that are talking to the situation on the ground. Having developed our policies at home, we also need to utilize platforms like this summit, Honorable Minister. This summit is very important. And in your speech, you have just mentioned that we need to come up with solutions of how to solve these problems and how to deal with our critical minerals. This is very important. Platforms as this creates that opportunity for us to share ideas and for us to learn from one another. Minister, I have also alluded to that when we are trying to introduce value addition to mining companies, they would tell you that we are miners and we are not beneficiators. So there is a gap that we need to fill in that space. And how we can fill that gap can only emanate from discussions that are taking place in platform as the summit. The other platform that we can use is SADC. We have our regional bloc, and it's called a bloc for a purpose because it means when we develop our own policies in our different countries, we also need to harmonize these policies at SADC level to make sure that our policies are communicating to each other and our policies are really addressing the African people's needs and aspirations, and not to create an opportunity that will make the developed countries, when they are coming to us, to feel I can do this in Namibia, but I will not be able to do this in South Africa. Let us not create those opportunities that make us vulnerable. We need to put up measures at SADC level that makes sure that as Africans, the goal remains one. For example, let me say we are saying we do not want our raw materials to leave our countries in that form. We want value to be added. And there is an opportunity for us to have a processing plant in one of our countries. Let it be there so that we process this in Africa and we create jobs in Africa and we generate revenue for Africa and we develop Africa by Africans. The other thing that I would like us to talk about is skill development and capacity building for our officials. We need to make sure that we develop this capacity within Africa for the Africans. Of course, now and then when you hear about capacity building, we would tend to think we can capacitate our people when we send them very far from Africa, outside Africa. But this information can easily just be gotten here, and we need to make sure that we learn from each other. When we discovered oil in Namibia recently, some of us felt I needed to learn from countries that are producing oil. But I told my honorable minister that I don't want to go far. Let me just go to Angola here. But others might think, let me go to another country. Of course, we can go there for some best practices, for benchmarking, for some other learning experiences. But let us utilize the skills, the capacity that we have within Africa. And when it comes to the AU, it's also that another platform, our biggest and highest platform. And at the AU level, we have Agenda 2063. We are talking about the Africa we want. What is that Africa that we are looking forward to? We have to build Africa that is being built by Africans themselves for themselves, you see? And this capacity we can easily get within Africa. And we can develop policies and we can develop instruments that will be able to talk the African language, and that is taking the aspiration of the Africans in regard.
Thank you very much for that. Minister Mantashe, you've been scribbling quite furiously as the Deputy Minister was speaking, and I'm thinking there are some things there that I think you probably like. I wanted to share with us some of the things that seem to be... Later. Okay. Then, Mr. Golzo, Zimbabwe, I think particularly you are called the Director of Energy Minerals, so I suspect that means something, that there is actually a particular focus for a director in energy minerals. Can you share with us the experience of Zimbabwe around actually energy minerals in particular?
Thank you very much for that question, Mr. Moderator. First of all, I would like to thank the Honorable Minister Gwede Mantashe for inviting us to this very important platform for sharing ideas on critical minerals in Africa. Zimbabwe subscribes to the Africa Mining Vision in the Agenda 2063, which is a very important mining vision and an agenda. This vision has focused on key different areas. These are the improvisation, the improvisation of the quality of geological data, improvisation of the contract negotiation capacity, improvisation of the capacity of mineral resource governance, and the capacity to manage mineral wealth. Coming to your question, the energy minerals in Zimbabwe comprises coal is one of the key energy minerals that we mine. It is key in that more than 60% of the energy that is generated in Zimbabwe or that is utilized in Zimbabwe is coming from coal mining. We are also very clear about ensuring that the nation gravitates towards clean energy. And the aspect of critical minerals brings an opportunity that with clean energy, the critical minerals give us an opportunity to give storage to clean generated energy. And as such, it is important that as Africa, as Zimbabwe, as the whole world gravitates towards clean energy, we take a very key role in the production, the value addition, and all the important value processes that come through in the critical minerals value process. I would also want to touch on the energy minerals aspect. I would also want to touch on the aspect that Zimbabwe has been fortunate that in terms of critical minerals, we have a very substantial inferred resource of lithium. I have a presentation that is currently, which you can see on your screens. It's based on this discussion that we are currently having. And in my presentation, I've alluded to the aspect of how Zimbabwe has been endowed through the various geological environments, ranging in age from the Achaean, which resulted in the country having a wide variety of mineral resource base. Among these are the critical minerals that we are discussing today. In the world, as we speak right now, is gravitating towards projects that require critical minerals. And we think that it is our opportunity, that our time has come for us to shine in the aspect of ensuring that we have, or we are at the forefront in the development of these energy minerals.
I'm going to give you just a chance to give us one or two slides so that we. Okay.
Oh, you want? Okay. I wanted to touch perhaps on this slide,
Okay.
on the overview on lithium. In 2021, globally, 540,000 tons of lithium was mined. And this is expected to grow to 1.5 million tons in 2025, 3 million tons by 2030. This is according to the World Economic Forum estimates. Out of these, we expect that with our huge reserves, it is possible that we estimate that 20% of that lithium can actually be met by Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is the largest reserves of lithium in Africa, and this has the lithium in different form. That's the petalite, the lepidolite, and the spodumene. So this is not just the facts that we are talking about, but I think this is also supported by the mining growth that has been experienced since 2017 in Zimbabwe. If you look at the mining growth in Zimbabwe, we exported $2.7 billion worth of mining exports in 2017, and by 2022, this number had grown to 5.6 billion. And you might all be aware that Zimbabwe is targeting that by 2023, which is this year, we will be, in terms of the actual mining economy, be a $12 billion mining industry. That's basically the whole industry as a mine. I'll stop there. Thank you very much,
All right.
Mr. Moderator.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we have some roving mics. Can we prepare maybe some roving mics? Because I'm going to take some 15 minutes after some reflections here so that we could have some contributions from the floor or one or two questions that there are opportunities with. Minister Mantashe, one of the things you talked about in your speech was the issue of energy and coal. But it seems to me that this energy confluence with mining in particular and critical minerals is one that's actually very important to pay attention to. I wanted you to share maybe some reflections on this confluence between energy and mining itself.
You see, when we started the debate on just energy transition, there was a shortcut definition of moving from coal to renewables. We engaged that debate. It is changing very fast now. It is movement from high carbon emission to low carbon emissions. It's not one or the other. And that's why we ended up with multi-pathways to low carbon emissions. And in that way, let's take, for example, coal, which I'm always criticized of, is no as a sponsor. I'm called a coal fundamentalist. And I normally tell people that I spend longer time in copper than in coal. Why am I not a copper fundamentalist? I haven't received an answer to that. But the reality of the matter is that if we do research in coal, clean coal technologies are beginning to work in many other countries. And I think we should invest in that. Number two, if we use gas, which we have many deposits, huge deposits of gas in the country, Total just discovered 3.7 TCF of Mossel Bay. We have verified that the shale gas in the Karoo is actually economical, but I know we're going to go through very running battles to mine it. And now, the point I'm making is that, but if you use gas, emissions are half the emissions of coal in its crude form. Nuclear is a clean energy source, but people say it's expensive. Expensive for who? Yes, copper is nuclear is expensive at commissioning, but when it is operational, it gives us the lowest cost. You know, in South Africa, it's the only source of energy that gives us energy at 40 cents a unit. No other source. But people don't want us to talk about that because they don't want us to touch copper. So mining, quite clearly, is going to be critical for transition. So all this technology will require a number of mineral deposits, various forms of them. It's a pity that DRC regards copper as not being strategic. And the problem with that, copper is in DRC, and there's a huge deposit of copper in Zambia. And what is going to happen is that DRC and Zambia are going to compete on selling copper. And as a result of that, they will depress the price of copper. And both of them will not benefit. They will both be losers. You know, there's one thing that I always ask, is that all producing countries formed OPEC. And they determine prices. If the price is low, they close supply, and they manage supply and demand of oil. But between ourselves and Zimbabwe, we have more than 80% of PGMs, two countries. But we're price takers. We're price takers. If you open your TV, every morning it tells you that the price of PGMs is as follows. Platinum, 900 and something, gold, 1,900 and something. I look at that every day. And one of the things that always go to my head is that we are price takers. We are the dominant supplier of the product, but we don't have a view that can be expressed in setting the price. So those are the issues. So these critical minerals are important for Africa so that we begin to influence not only the prices, we must also influence the movement of those minerals. Unfortunately, because all of us are poor, all of us, African countries, once we deposit, America walks to DRC and say, we want all that cobalt. And DRC will agree because they think they can get access to dollars and release cobalt for a song. And I think it's an issue that requires cooperation among us as African countries. If we don't do that, we're going to head for what I called a race to the bottom. We're going to compete. You know, one time our comrades in Namibia gave a company, I won't mention the name, I can be sued, a tax holiday for 5 years. And that company mined there for 5 years, tax holiday. At the end of 5 years, they pulled out of Namibia. That's how we're treated in the continent, that we will give conditions that are not universal, that are not applicable anywhere. And big companies take advantage of that and exploit our countries. And that's why it is important and urgent for us to talk and actually cooperate and cooperate and actually co-determine the direction we are taking. And my view is that we have an opportunity. Time is now. We must pull all our resources. Pumzile is working somewhere in the UN. They must come back and work in Africa. We must go and get all those resources to help us do the best for the continent. Okay.
Yeah, I think you are very much reflecting on what Honorable Shilunga was talking about the cooperation and the collaboration within the continent. Before I open to the audience, the Honorable Deputy Minister from DRC, one of the things that I know you are very interested in, and which has been a very big debate in South Africa, is really this chain of custody of mineral substances, especially your work around artisanal mining. We have a different name here for each other. Can you share with us a little bit about that? Because I think it's something that's very, very important in South Africa that perhaps you might want to share with us in terms of engaging there.
Je commence d'abord par louer l'initiative de l'honorable Matassi.
Thank you for the question. The Deputy Minister Kibolum would like, as he didn't do it at first, thank his honorable the Minister Mantashe, Gwede Mantashe, for inviting him to be at this summit. Yes.
Je souhaiterais que ce sommet ne soit pas le dernier.
I would like that this summit will not be the last one. And thanks to what we have heard here, there will be next year a second one. But we like this initiative to last longer.
En rapport avec l'artisanat minier,
So regarding the ASM, or mining or artisan,
je citerai notamment l'élaboration des cadres normatifs.
for this custody chain, you would like to maybe to say that there is this frame of we call this best procedures while it comes to mining. This means in terms of tracking. Who's the owner? Who's possessed from the mine or from the from the ASM source? Sourcing should be fully tracked to know who's possessing, where is it, how is it mined, and the second he would like to share here.
Oui, la traçabilité du minerai
So,
depuis le puits jusqu'à la transformation,
yes, so
jusqu'à l'exportation.
yeah, that chain of custody should be retraceable from the pit to the delivery to the buyers and eventually to the transformation operator.
Bien sûr avec le concours de différents partenaires.
And of course, this is done with, we call them traditional partners who used to accompany DRC.
Et je profite de cette occasion,
I take this opportunity,
comme l'a souligné l'honorable Mantassi,
as has underlined his Honorable Mantashe Gwede,
nous avons un problème, nous, en Afrique.
to say that in Africa we have this problem.
Nous avons bien sûr de matières premières. Nous sommes riches en matières premières.
We are endowed of these minerals,
mais nous ne sommes pas des décideurs.
but we are not the one who are deciding.
Nous ne sommes pas des décideurs. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes en train de lutter comme dans notre pays, nous sommes en train de lutter contre
As a matter of
cette
fact,
situation.
nowadays we are fighting to change this. I mean, DRC is fighting to change this state of things.
Nous n'acceptons plus d'exporter nos matières brutes
We are no more allowing exportation of, we call them raw materials from mines,
de matières non élaborées, non raffinées,
those who are not processed, those from which there is no beneficiation, even partly or not at all,
pour ajouter la plus-value et permettre d'avoir beaucoup plus de moyens au niveau de notre trésor public.
So we want the most added value to be realized locally, that is in DRC or in, let's say, in between with our neighbor countries.
Et cet état des choses va nous permettre,
And this should allow us
n'est-ce pas, de commencer à développer notre pays
to start developing our countries
et
and
avoir davantage de moyens au niveau de notre trésor public.
have more finances for our communities.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think this is a particularly sore point about, the wealth for communities. So we've got a mic right in front, so it's not going to be going around. So you're going to have to be brave enough to stand right in front of everybody to give us a contribution or a question. So I wonder if we've got any hands from the audience for one or two contributions or questions in this regard. Okay, I see one hand over there. Then there's a lady over there too, and then 3. Okay, we'll start with you, so you'll have to come up to the front.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocol observed. I think I have 3 comments and questions. The first is to Minister Mantashe in reference
Make it
to...
2.
Okay. My name is Matlako Mahapa. I am the founder of Cephalo Strategic Solutions. We offer professional services in the sector, specializing in program monitoring and evaluation. Minister, you know that the SLP is one of the most transformative policies I think we have in the sector. But one of the biggest gaps that we're picking up is that from an official point of view, the seniors that are the accounting officers seem to not have a clear understanding of the legislation, especially within the DMRE and the different departments that are there. And as the custodians of the land, as well as the approvals for mining houses to be able to see through these social investment projects, it's a large barrier. So I do understand that, I think it was last year where the DMRE announced training for officials, but I would like to please ask that we look at it on a very, very senior level, because every 5 years we've got administrative change, and it seems like the municipal managers and the officers that follow then do not have an understanding of how the sector actually works. Secondly, I do like to echo Doc's comment that it's a beautiful time to be alive as an African young woman today in 2023. And one of the things that we'd like to put really strongly on the agenda is the value chain. If we're talking about beneficiation and transformation of the value chain, from a logistics point of view, global investment is one of the key barriers that we're looking at. I know we've got LC arrangements, we're looking at escrow financing. If you want to do trade, for example, between South Africa and West Africa or other African countries. We do need to talk to banks because the environment doesn't allow us to trade with other countries from a logistics point of view, looking at things such as machinery. And from a beneficiation point of view, some of the regulations in the motor industry doesn't allow it because you cannot then use certain repair machinery in big machines, therefore you lose warranties and so many things. So I would like to understand from all the different countries, what is the conversation on that end on talking about some of the artificial barriers to us developing? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Then I think we had a lady here. Is she? Yes. So, and then I'm going to ask you, sir, to also follow her so that we don't have a waiting leg.
Good day, everyone. My name is Polena Pizzo. I've been in the industry for the past 28 years as one of the women in mining. So my question is only simple, because each and every day I can see the rate of unemployment in the industry is getting higher and higher and higher. I just want to ask from the panel here, how can we just maybe come up with something that can make the industry a little bit better so that people, they mustn't lose their employment, as we can see that each and every day we are being retrenched. As we speak right now, I'm retrenched. I'm looking for a job.
Thank you. And then the last gentleman.
Good day, everybody. My name is Isaac Klaku from the IDC down the road. I've been in the mining industry for quite a while.
Did you say the IEC?
The IDC, the Industrial Development Corporation of South Africa. So talk about mining in SA or talk about mining in Africa for that matter. Talk about the IDC. So mine is a comment that the point that was made by His Excellency Minister in the morning about beneficiation. Much as we mine, yes indeed, I think I will encourage that a lot of emphasis, especially on this effort, it falls more onto that beneficiation element of it. That really will be very key. The reason being that, as we say, the nemesis is always mining and then everything out to the port to China and countries like that, because you don't have the seeing to do that. So if you mine lithium, like lithium is coming out now in Zimbabwe, where is that going to end? So some of the efforts which I'll touch on this afternoon is that you need to create beneficiation so that there is a value chain where lithium will end, where your copper will end, where your earth will end. The second comment, I like what the lady from Namibia posted. We can only do it as a collaboration. We did a study about in 2011, looking at how we can participate in these battery minerals, and it was a SADC approach. So the only way it has to be collaborative, let's emphasize on that, especially I would say in the legislation in moving these raw materials across the borders. The gentleman from the DRC mentioned obviously what form. I think we may have to look at the finer print there, in what form. I think it should be relaxed for us to move it easily across that, because beneficiation will mean technology, and then with technology, it will mean capital. So wherever there is an opportunity to do that, I think, yeah, it's a legislation to move the minerals across, especially our neighbors in SADC. I think for me, those are the two key points and comments from myself. Thank you so much. Looking forward for the rest of the...
Okay, thank you very much. We're quickly running out of time, so I would like to suggest two things. Firstly, maybe a response to what we've heard, but certainly one of the things that have come up here are the different things. First of all, we don't have a vision, it turns out, for the development of critical minerals. Certainly, many of our countries don't have that. We're going to be back here next year at this time, and what should we have done, and what work is going to start just as we leave this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon, around making sure that these things are done. So what are the key things that perhaps our organizers should follow you up on so that we are actually coming back? Minister, we'll start with you, and then we'll go through the rest about the things we have to achieve before we come back here next year.
Before time is up, let me jump for one critical question.
Yeah.
rate of unemployment in the industry getting higher. It's not factual. It's not factual. But if you talk of a rate of unemployment in the country, it is factual. Let me tell you why I'm saying it's not factual. You'll recall that even during COVID, what we did, we opened coal mining to full production when the lockdown was at level 5. We opened open cast to operate full capacity at level 4 and opened the whole mining at level 3. And as a result of that, we didn't witness decline of employment in mining. Actually, when we received the last report on employment statistics, there was marginal increase on mining employment. But there's one idea that we're going to sell to the industry. It came from one of the mining companies, won't mention the name now, who said, listen, what we're doing, we are mining, we're high grading, and we leave marginal deposits on the ground, and as a result of that, it becomes a fertile ground for illegal mining. Yes. And he said, let's have a model to look into how best do we exploit marginal deposit so that we don't sterilize them. I think that idea is going to be a very interesting debate for the sector in the coming months, and I think mining companies must start thinking about it. It should not mean poverty conditions of employment. It might mean just a different model of actual adapting the components of remuneration to fit marginal deposits that are there. And it adds to artisanal mining that you talked about. Artisanal mining is not Zama-Zama. Artisanal mining is professional mining, chisel and hammer, but at a smaller scale in the industry. That is the first one. The second one is maybe the questions of the first person. As we finish here, let's have a discussion face to face, so that you can understand what she's talking about, because getting a mining license is quite an involved exercise. Land transfers and all those belong somewhere else. Water licenses are in somewhere else. But let's come together and talk each other to one another so that we understand the problem and then offer solutions. Let me leave the rest, except that to say to IDC, the more we reduce risk aversion for DFIs, the better it will be. And the more the state is prepared to actually capitalize DFIs, the better it will be.
Where are we going to meet for the development of the vision?
Yes.
For the continental vision, where are we going to meet for that?
Continental vision, we have an initial discussion today.
Okay.
We've got Vision 2063. We must refine it into a continental vision for critical minerals.
Yeah.
It requires contribution of all of us.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then to come to you, Honorable Shilunga. Maybe some responses that you'd like to give, and then what we should be doing, what we can hold you up to until we come back here.
Thank you very much. For me, there is one critical question that I think we need to answer. And that has to do with what is it that we need to do to make sure that we fill that gap. Now that we feel beneficiation is not happening, and that we need to add value to our minerals before they are exported out of our different countries. How do we fill this gap? We need to provide an answer to that. And I would like to suggest that we perhaps before we come back in our different countries, we do the stakeholder consultation or engagement, whereby we are going to look at that critical question, and we bring our captains of industries in the room for them to be able to see this opportunity in the beneficiation sector, for them to be able to take that opportunity, and for us to make sure that at the end of the day, we keep the jobs for our people, we generate our revenues within our own countries, and at the end, we are responding to the needs and the aspiration of the people of Africa.
Thank you very much. And then, of course, coming to you, Mr. Godza.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I think the common thread from this conversation that is very clear is that as countries in Africa that are endowed with critical minerals, it is important that we develop legislation that ensures that there is value addition in our local countries, our respective countries. In Zimbabwe, in 2022, we passed a statutory instrument 213, which basically says that no, in reference specifically to lithium, because I spoke up, quite a bit about lithium, or that's the opportunity I got. I spoke a bit about lithium. With lithium, we cannot export any raw lithium from 2022. It has to reach a certain percentage. And other countries can also enact similar instruments that will enable industry to ensure that there is local investment in plants and refineries, so that we create employment in the local markets. The second point, I wouldn't want to go into it so much, but I think it's about collaboration. I think Honorable Gwedi Mantashe and our Honorable from Namibia also talked a lot about it. And this kind of collaboration should be in the form of training. In Zimbabwe, we have got some training institutions that are run by the government, that are run by private industry. And these have afforded a lot of the regional students in mining to come and get expert training in how we can get the industry to be fully equipped for these critical minerals. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Last but not least, Deputy Minister Gibolum.
Je voulais faire un petit commentaire en rapport avec la mise en commun des ressources des pays africains. Pour, oui.
Sorry. Yeah, perhaps just to put a comment on this collaborative approach and the pooling of material and technical scientific resources to enable Africa to reach its full potential.
Pour déboucher à l'expérience, sur l'expérience RDC-Zambie.
So back to this experience involving DRC and Zambia.
Dans le cadre de transition énergétique,
which is to be placed within the frame of this energy transition.
Vous imaginez ce que ça va donner à la fin à la réalisation de ces projets, qui va déboucher à la fabrication de batteries électriques. Et quand on dit fabrication de batteries électriques, pour le marché, bien sûr, des véhicules électriques.
So one could just simply imagine what could be happen if Africa could be able to not only source these minerals regarding the energy transition, but also be be able to deliver batteries or even battery precursors in Africa.
Au lieu d'importer ces batteries, nous allons commencer à exporter plutôt
So
des batteries.
instead of importing batteries, Africa could be a big exporter of them to the world,
Avec comme conséquence la création des emplois,
resulting in creations of jobs.
De cette façon, nous allons certainement renverser cette vapeur-là. Au lieu que ce soit toujours la matière première pour les pays industrialisés et que nous commençons à partir de ces produits fabriqués avec nos matières premières, commencer à importer ça. Nous essayons maintenant de renverser cette vapeur.
So we could inverse, if I can say, this kind of curse, which is in Africa, which is just depleted from is wealth. We have extraction of minerals, they're going, and the maximum added value is done abroad, and we are re-exporting products that have been done basically from our materials. And the consequence, this will result in better wealth for our communities and a new consideration for Africa. And this should be also one of the goals of this kind of summit.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you very much to all our panelists. It's been a really good discussion. Just a message clearly for Dr. Chitekere and his team, that before we get here next year, there's some points that you have to bring to all of our panelists to continue the work, so that we don't come back here and ask questions, but that we would have gone some way into defining some of the key elements of this vision and some of the work that we have to do. But please, let's give a round of applause to all the ministers and deputy ministers.